Hello and welcome to another episode on Maritime Radar. The port plays a key role in connecting nations, trades and economies. This has profound impact on trade volume and transport cost. However, the sector is confronted with many challenges such as new standards and modernization to achieve international best practice, especially in the areas of security, safety, environmental management, port operation and services, the ever-evolving and changing in information technology, inter- and intra-regional competition, the ever-increasing size of ships, cargo handling equipment, and traffic growth, amongst others. Africa must have the ability to cope with such rapidly advancing realities in order to benefit from the trade opportunities. Developing Africa's maritime industry for economic growth are some of the issues that will be on the front burner on Maritime Radar. I'm Nneoma Obi-Asualo. Port and shipping industry in Africa are facing emerging challenges such as growing freight traffic, environmental concerns, operational challenges and other disruptions occasioned by the global pandemic, and more of infrastructural challenges which are crucial to an effective port operations. Therefore, there is urgent need to turn to technology, and digitalization has become imperative. To survive, we must embrace the new normal to ensure efficient port and shipping operations. Delivery operations, blockchain technology, drones, high-bay storage system, data and analytics, digital exchange platform in areas we must embrace. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
Nigeria's Federal Executive Council has ratified a resolution to allow the Nigerian Shippers Council implement the controversial electronic cargo tracking notes. At the meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari, cabinet members deliberated on the memo presented by the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Sambo, where he affirmed that the cargo tracking notes will contribute in detecting under-declaration of goods meant for import or export and ensure accurate invoicing and concealment. It will also address wrong calculations and other dubious practices within the port's corridors. According to the minister, the facility is to be deployed by a Belgian firm in conjunction with other indigenous Nigerian firms at no extra cost to the government. When fully operational, it is expected to shore up government's revenue base from $90 million to $235 million per annum. Sambo, while briefing State House correspondents, noted that the device, when installed, would also instill a regime of effective tracking of crude oil export by eliminating oil theft, which had become rampant in recent times. After arresting the MTC Eunice for switching off its automatic identification, or AIS, the Nigerian Navy has handed the tanker over to the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. Switching off the AIS is a violation of NIMASA and the International Maritime Organization (IMO) regulations. The base operation officer of the Nigerian Navy ship Delta, Navy Commander Samuel Musa, said that NIMASA will perform further investigations. The naval commander disclosed that the MTC Eunice was arrested by the NNS Delta on August 11, 2022, while the crew continuously and consistently engaged in switching on and off their AIS. Musa noted that the essence of the handover is a testament to the Nigerian Navy's position in continuous policing of the Nigerian maritime domain, as well as the synergy and collaboration with other maritime stakeholders. At least 73 Europe-bound migrants and refugees are missing and presumed dead following a shipwreck off the coast of Libya. The International Organization for Migration (IOM) said the Libyan authorities have retrieved at least 11 bodies from the wreck, which happened on Tuesday. The United Nations Migration Agency says 7 people survived and made it to Libyan shores in extremely dire conditions and were taken to the hospital. The shipwreck was the latest sea tragedy in the central Mediterranean, a key route for migrants. According to the IOM's Missing Migrants Project, 25,821 migrants and refugees have gone missing in the Mediterranean since 2014. In recent years, Libya has emerged as the dominant transit point for refugees and asylum seekers from Africa and the Middle East trying to make it to Europe. A June 2022 report by the United Nations Independent Fact-Finding Mission on Libya found that migrants and refugees faced murder, enforced disappearance, torture, enslavement, sexual violence, rape, and other inhumane acts in connection with their arbitrary detention. The Finnish Transport Workers Union (AKT) strike has led to a grounding of activities at Finland's port and terminals across the country. Negotiations and discussions between the union and the employer organizations about a new collective bargaining agreement were not successful, and the settlement proposals that mediator Liu Suoma gave to the union were rejected. The strike, which started on Wednesday morning, will last until further notice, with all vessel operations in Finland's ports, gate moves and handling of containers within terminals suspended until further notice. The parties will continue the negotiations later this week.
If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radar. This week's episode is to assess the Africa's port and its economic viability. I spoke to Funmilayo Olotu, port manager, Lagos Port Complex, on steps she has taken to ensure the ease of doing business at the Lagos Nigeria port. Stay with us. It's great to have you on the show. Let's start this conversation looking at the Lagos port, the size, the personnel. How have you coped with the tax? What has been the challenges and your achievements?
Thank you. The Lagos Port Complex happens to be the premier port in the nation. Presently, we have a workforce of 530 right with me here in the port. In terms of size, we are actually in the admin building, and the port is just behind us. Of course, by 2006, we had a concession, meaning Nigerian Ports Authority is now playing the role of a landlord, while we have engaged third parties in a PPP arrangement to handle our terminals. They are now the ones in charge of cargo handling, but we are still in charge of bringing in vessels. We assign pilots. We ensure safety and security of the port environment. And what have been the challenges? For an historical background, let me start by saying I came into Lagos Port Complex in 2019, having been port manager at the Calabar Port for almost 3 years. And from Calabar Port, I was redeployed to Lagos Port Complex. And as at the time I came on board, traffic was hellish. Coming into the port was a huge challenge. Virtually on a daily basis, we were having crises. And one of the measures we put in place then was to first start a manual call-up. Manual call-up in the sense that if you do not have any business in the port, you do not approach the port. What we've had prior to now was the case of the earliest person to come into the port corridor is the one that gets
into the port.
Into the port. So even when they do not have anything, the selling point is like, I'm already at Area B. That's where you have the Area B command, the police command. Or, yes, Point Road. Or you are like, oh, I'm already along Wharf Road or Creek Road, as it were, the two major entry points into the port. That is a selling point. So for whoever has a cargo to clear within the port, then you'll be like, okay, this man is already very close to the port. Let me patronize him. Whether you know him or not, whether you are sure that your goods will get to you at the end of the day or not. But with the manual call-up, we went into discussions with the terminal operators, and we are like, one, we want to know your capacity, we want to know your holding bay for trucks that you can handle, even when operations are still ongoing. And we want to know those who have already indicated to you that they have goods to pick from you. Can you send us that list 48 hours ahead? So I keep that in my office. And when you now tell me you are coming into the port, we came up with a system with our security department. You must apply to come into the port. So when you say you are coming into the port, can you please tell us what you're coming to do? Do you have it?
Business here.
Good. So you tell me your TDO, I cross-check it with what the terminal has given me. If you are there, fine. You are not there, you stay off. And of course, we also collaborated with the Lagos State government. We had the presidential task team then, and it was an Herculean task. But at the end of the day, it paid off. It worked. And from that, the executive management of MPA decided to now make it an e-collop. So we migrated from manual to e-collop, and they came up with this concept of Eto. Eto is a Yoruba word for orderliness, meaning if you do not have any business in the port, don't approach us. And now it is e-collop system that we have. I came in and there was a memo on my table, a letter actually, a correspondence, and I said, BU acknowledgement. And the first reaction I got was, Ma, we don't reply. And I'm like, excuse me, somebody has written us a letter and we will not give him that simple courtesy of knowing that one, the letter has gotten to the destination. The letter is receiving attention. Give me. So we did that, we responded, and the feedback was shocking. Someone just sent me a personal letter now that in his 16 years of doing business here, that will be the first time he will get a response to a correspondence to the port.
This is applaudable.
And to date, you send any correspondence to us under my watch, we will acknowledge, we will give you a point of contact that this is the officer that you should touch base with for updates on that thing that you have asked us or whatever information it is. And even 2 weeks, you do not get any response, my email is available, either my personal or official email. Send me an email, I will personally respond and take it up. And I've been doing that, God helping us, and it has brought a lot of relief across.
You will agree with me that ease of doing business is key. So what are the things that has hampered ease of doing business under your watch?
Before now, like I said, there was the issue of non-response to correspondences. What other things have we had? We've had cases of things that are beyond Nigerian Ports Authority. Out there, everyone feels once you mention the port, it is about Nigerian Ports Authority. Of course, we are the major player, but there are other sister agencies. There are other stakeholders that play one role or the other. Which
is where collaborations come in. So
yes,
how have you worked with that?
In terms of collaboration, security-wise, we meet bi-monthly. All the heads of agencies, we share intelligence, we share information, we discuss amongst ourselves issues that are coming up, how can we address it, who played a part well, who did not do very well, how can we put measures in place to ensure that we keep being on top of our game. I have a slogan in Apapa, and the slogan for me when I came on board, placing premium on professionalism. And I believe that's what professionalism sums up the totality of what we're talking about, including the ease of doing business. If someone approaches my port, for instance, I want to ensure that at the end of whatever has brought you here, you're able to leave with a smile. I also believe in system rather than persons. If you're approaching my office, you will hardly see anybody within the immediate presence of my office. I discourage it. Let the document speak for itself. And once your documents are intact, I place premium on berthing of vessels because they will tell you time is money. But what we say is this, shipping is time. Time is money. Invariably, shipping is money. So for every delay, there are implications. And don't forget.
So that brings me to the question of
yes,
how can we achieve a 48 hours clearance in the port so that we can compete with other ports in Africa?
Good. For the 48 hours clearance, I'll tell you that when it has to do with containerized cargo, we are doing fantastically well. We are within that average already. But when it comes to general cargo, break bulk, these are items that maybe on a vessel, the tonnage alone is massive. And the consignees, in some cases, are not homogeneous. You're having maybe 10, 50. For a container, you can clear how many boxes in a matter of hours. Even in the discharge, it is pretty fast. But for others, what we advise is, before you approach the port, can your documentation be in place? For instance, we are talking of promoting exports. We all know we are import dependent, which is not good for our economy. Because the ideal trade balance is for you to send out as much as you are receiving. Then you can say you have a good trade balance. But in our case, we take in more than what we are sending out. Now, what are we sending out? We realize that for some of our people coming on board, there is the NXP from CBN, which you have to process. There are other levels of clearances with the Nigerian Customs Service. If you are not through with this and you just push that cargo up and you start coming, of course, at certain points, they are going to stop you. They are going to ask you for that CBN NXP. They're going to ask you for some of the other documentation. Now, in the process of that, if it is a perishable commodity, it is no longer at that premium quality of living wherever it is coming from. And by the time it is shipped, what do we have? Complaints or anything coming from Nigeria is not good. I am one person who is 100% part of my choice of word now, Niger for life. I believe in my country. I believe we are good. I tell people prisons are everywhere. And if you go to any prison, even over there, I'm sure it's not only Nigerians that are in their prisons. So it means bad people exist everywhere, good people exist everywhere. And we have good Nigerians who are putting in their best to ensure that this trade drive of the federal government receives the adequate input from all of us. So we charge them when you are coming, process, that is one. Two, the agency saddled with screening these products, can you please go the extra mile and ensure that everything is intact? I will say this, it's personally painful to me. There are some of our products that they are being shipped through some neighboring West African countries, because that is where they get their authentication. If they carry the names of those other countries, nothing happens. But if they carry our name,
Nigeria,
we have issues. And in one of our trade discussions with one of our foreign partners, he said something about us having reputational deficiency. I can't forget that phrase in my life. He said we have reputational deficiency. And my drive has always been to ensure that that reputational deficiency is changed. Let them believe that whatever is coming from Nigeria is coming with the right quality, with the right quantity, with all the agencies having carried out. Because if you say you have checked and it gets to the other side and they are now saying something is wrong, then it means fundamentally we need to come back home and check what we are doing. And I believe we are getting there. In recent times, we've had huge breaks by the Nigerian Customs, the NDLEA, Standard Organization of Nigeria. We come together, we appraise, and we go back and we re-strategize, and it's paying off.
Next is our new port, which is the Lekki Deep Sea Port, but that will be after this short break. Please stay with us.
News Central TV, Africa's #1 storyteller, has come with the best of both worlds. With a combination of news app and live TV, we ensure that you keep track of the latest headlines, breaking news, and in-depth analysis from professional journalists from around the continent. Download the News Central TV app on Android and iOS and get started today. Don't forget to follow us on News Central's social media platforms. News Central, Africa first.
If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Radio, and I still have with me the Lagos Port Manager, who is Funmilayo Olotu. Before we went on that break, you have shared with us a lot of achievements with the Apapa Port. So let's look now at the Lekki Deep Sea Port. What extra are we looking at with this port? What is extra will be done with this port, different from what we have with the Apapa ports?
By the name, Lekki Deep Sea Port, it means higher volumes because the draft there is deeper. Here in Lagos Port Complex, our maximum draft is 13 meters. That is the depth of a vessel that we can take. And of course, when
meaning the deep draft is deeper?
It's deeper, 16.5 meters. That's what we have in Lekki Deep Sea Port, 16.5. And where you have deeper draft, it means you can have larger and bigger vessels. You are not restricted by the draft because the draft of a port will determine the vessels that can call at that port. So with Lekki, we are looking forward to bigger vessels. We are looking forward to higher tonnages. In terms of draft now, when they calculate it, for every extra draft, you are talking about 1,000 tonnages. So whatever we have been handling at Apapa, 16.5 minus 13, that's 3.5. Then convert that to tonnages, 3.5 times. So you can see that the volumes expected, of course, will be higher. Like I said earlier, shipping is time, time is money. So no shipper would, no ship owner wants to put the vessel on the water, bringing maybe 10,000, 20,000 metric tons of cargo to a country where maybe what they have to bring to that area is like 30, 40,000 metric tons. The man would rather have one vessel coming on that voyage than having 2, 3 vessels coming to the same destination. So that is one of the beauty of deep sea ports. Lekki is the first one that has been commissioned by the President of the Federal Government of Nigeria, and there are still others in the pipeline.
So what is being done to ensure better infrastructure, different from what the challenges we have with Apapa Port?
Okay. At commencement, government was the one driving the other ports. There are 6 actually. The Lagos Port Complex, Tinkan Island Port, then we have the Delta Ports in Warri, we have the Calabar Port in Cross River State, we also have the Rivers Port in Port Harcourt, and the Onne Port also in Port Harcourt. So there are 6 in all. And before that concession I mentioned in 2006, government was the master stevedore. Government was the one running all of this. Infrastructure, ship handling, tonnage handling, government was fully in charge. But when government looked at it, that the burden of being able to sustain and maintain this infrastructure vis-a-vis the huge cost of shipping, that was where the idea of concessioning came in place. Now at Lekki, the difference is clear. The federal government has just 5% through Nigerian Ports Authority. Lagos State government, 20%. Then Tolerance, which is a private entity combining 2 interests, they are having the 75 or 70% now. So you can see the huge leap. Government has realized that for some initiatives, public-private partnership is key. And in this case, the private aspect is taking the lead. But of course, government being in charge of policy making and other issues are still having part of the equity. So that alone tells you that we expect the game to be upped.
What are your parting words for upcoming maritime, women in maritime?
Maritime is male-dominated, yes. But when you are bold, when you pocket your fears, and you look at the tasks ahead, and you assure yourself I can do it, irrespective of my gender. So don't throw gender at people. Throw your innate ability and quality. My late father once told me that I should let my work speak for me, such that the quality of my work will keep people looking for me. Even if they don't like my face, the quality of my work will compel them to look for me. And that has worked for me. Any task you give me to do, I go the extra mile. Tell me to go and shop for apples, I come back and I'll tell you, yes, I found apples. But I'm thinking we can also add maybe a little bit of orange, a little bit of purple, and you can just, let's have a colorful tray instead of just presenting these apples. I want to create my own success, and people are now making me the target to beat. I want to be better than she is, and I sincerely believe I've been able to do that in my 34 years plus in the organization.
Be bold. Be the best version of yourself. Those are the words of Funmilayo Olotu. She is the port manager, Lagos Port Complex. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. Many thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
This is Africa. I bet you've heard a lot about it. But this is what you need to know. It's the home of the youngest and fastest growing population in the world. This, my friend, is opportunity right here. This is the future, and everyone wants Africa's attention. You need a voice that's African, young, conversational, a platform with the potential to reach millions of people across the continent with content they can relate to, such as lifestyle shows, sports and news, just the way they love it. Imagine all the people you could be talking to on News Central TV. Well, don't just think about it. Contact us for sponsorship and advert bookings. Put your brand where Africa is watching. It's News Central TV.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. Every week, join us on Maritime Radar as we explore how Africa can make a difference in ensuring the development of the maritime sector. You can also expect the latest in maritime news and industry insights right here. I'm Nneoma, Obi-Asualo. Many thanks for your time.